Welcome to TMZ Live. Harvey Levin here.
Charles here.
This is one of the most outrageous things I have heard in a long, long time.
In a case that has been filled with outrageous things.
Wendy Williams was in court yesterday, in court with her niece, Alex Finney. It was an acrimonious hearing.
The judge in the Guardianship.
The judge in the Guardianship read Alex Finney the Riot Act, threatened her, and said, "You're talking," making an accusation that she's talking to the media, and if you continue doing it, I'm going to do this to you, I'm going to do that to you. There is a gag order in this case. I can tell you that the judge has scared a lot of people involved in the case, and I can't figure out, why is there a gag order in this case? That Wendy can't talk about her circumstances? Why is the judge doing it?
That aside,
there is something
that's even
way, way bigger. At the end of the hearing, this judge first basically said Wendy's family was terrible, and then looks at Wendy and says, "You know, you had a great career. Your career is over. It is never coming back. You're done." Why would a judge say that?
And what is the relevance to what they're actually there for? It just seemed like it just seemed mean-spirited.
Totally.
The way it was relayed to us, because it wasn't really necessary for the conversation that was going on.
And by the way, the judge doesn't know what she's talking about. I mean,
by the way, there are a lot of people clamoring for Wendy to actually get back on the air and to have a show again.
When did this judge become Roger Ebert? I mean, I'm serious. Wendy Williams is a hot commodity right now. I can tell you from our Tubi documentary, it attracted a lot of attention. She's done interviews with major outlets. People are interested in her. So the idea that the judge would even say it, she's just wrong. But the fact that she'd say it is unbelievable.
Yeah.
So let's bring in somebody who has a dog in this fight.
Indeed, because he is now representing Wendy as her personal attorney. And certainly, as we've spoken to Joe Tacopina before, the goal here is to end this guardianship ultimately. And he is joining us right now. Joe, welcome to TMZ Live. Welcome back.
Hey, Charles. Hey, Harvey. It's sickening, honestly, just listening to you guys and hearing what you just said, you know, from the issuance of a gag order to the statements, if true, that were made by this judge, you know, in a court proceeding that has nothing to do with Wendy's career. Moreover, that were made in front of Wendy Williams. If true, that is outrageous, because this judge, one, she's not in the entertainment industry, so I don't know where she would get off opining about that and why that's even relevant to her role as a judge, who's basically the judge of the law, and in this case, judge of the facts. And why she's not a neurologist either, I mean, clearly, and someone who should be opining on whether Wendy Williams has the capability to get better and become but I will tell you, I've spent time with Wendy this week, and I've spoken to Wendy, Harvey, as you have, you know, I'd say hundreds of hours over the last several months. And I will tell you, she's as Wendy Williams as she was 10 years ago. She's as Wendy Williams as she was when she had one of the best shows in television. She's absolutely capable of hosting a talk show or doing whatever she wants to do. I mean, she is there. She's got her wherewithal. And for someone to say that her career is over when they're a judge judging her is really a display of a bias. If I were her lawyer yesterday in that court proceeding and she'd said that judge in front of my client, I would have stood up there with fury. And I would have said, first of all, I would have objected to that statement because it's totally improper coming from the court, totally improper. But moreover, it's made without a basis in knowledge, and it's made without a medical background and without education. And so I would have lost my mind, honestly, if that had been said to my client or in my client's presence if I were there yesterday. That's disgusting.
We should make it clear to the audience that, Joe, you were not present for this because you have not yet been admitted to the guardianship case. The judge has to approve that, so you are right now just her personal attorney. But obviously, at some point, you might end up in front of Judge Sokoloff, and like you, Joe, we are just, when we heard about this, we just thought,
This is just crazy.
Why?
What about it? And Joe, help me out in this gag order thing. It's like, why is there a gag order in a guardianship case?
I've never heard of one, okay? Harvey, I've never heard of one. Guys, the issuance of gag orders prohibiting participants in judicial proceedings from speaking to the public or the press about those proceedings is a form of what's known as prior restraint, presumptively invalid under the First Amendment and frequently held to be unconstitutional by lower courts, including the Second Circuit, which is the court that is in New York. It is beyond pale that you can't just issue a broad gag order and just say, that's what we're doing here. So it's prior restraint on constitutionally protected expression. And there's been so many cases on this. And look, gag orders I guess, technically were issued and could be deemed valid in cases where, like, witnesses' lives were perhaps at risk in organized crime cases or cartel cases where you had, the name of a witness who maybe was at risk or something of that effect, or where you really could hinder an impartial jury, the right to a fair and impartial jury. And again, that's a stretch too. And I've just had that in the ASAP Rocky trial. Okay, the judge initially issued a gag order in our trial and then rescinded it because he said it is illegal, it's constitutionally invalid. Okay, in that trial, and that was with the jury. That was with the jury. Here, there's no jury. This judge is the fact finder. So what is she going to get influenced by a statement made out of court? Of course not. It's to punish. It's really to intimidate litigants and their lawyers. And to me, it's outrageous. There should not be a gag order. If I were in that case, I would be fighting tooth and nail, and I'd be appealing any issuance of a gag order. Prior restraint on constitutionally protected expression is illegal. It's illegal, and it normally carries a heavy presumption against constitutional validity.
Joe, I'm wondering if Wendy, I know you said you've spoken to her this week, is she feeling like it's sort of haphazard whether or not she can leave this facility? But last night, she went out to dinner with Don Lemon and her niece, Alex.
Charles, I got some recon. Guess who she met before she met Don Lemon? Joe Tacopina.
Oh, really?
They met yesterday.
Well, the reason I bring it up is because the 24 hours before that, on Wednesday night, she was about to go out to dinner with you and Alex, and the Guardian said, no, you can't go. And so it just seems like, what's the difference between Wednesday night, you were there, and Thursday night, you weren't at dinner, but now I got to hear about this meeting that you had with her before the dinner?
I guess the notion that there was this court appearance on Thursday, that Wednesday night was before Thursday's court appearance, so therefore she couldn't see her niece who was testifying on Thursday, which makes absolutely no sense because they were able to speak on the phone as much as they wanted. So but if they saw each other in person, it would somehow influence the niece's testimony. I mean, the whole thing is so ridiculous. And the testimony, from what I understand, was much ado about nothing. Really was. But it's just this proceeding is becoming a joke. Look, Wendy Williams supposedly passed a cognitive ability test. We're going on about a month now. Okay, if that's true, and I've been told it's true. Okay. Confirmed to be true, why is she still in a facility? Why, if I'm the judge or the guardian, I'd say, really, she's passed that test? She's not cognitively impaired? She doesn't have frontal lobar dementia? Let me see that test, because if that's the case, my God, this poor woman in her 60s, early 60s, is being held in a facility against her will, where there are people in their 80s and 90s who don't know their names. Look at her. Look at that video you have for her. That is a prison-like setting. She can't leave. Wendy Williams.
Yeah.
She didn't
forced to wave to her fans outside the window.
Wrong. Yeah. I mean, she didn't commit a crime. She didn't do anything wrong. She's not a danger to herself or the community. Why is her ability to be move around restrained? Why is her movements restrained? There's a sense of dignity that's being stripped.
Why do you think the judge and the guardian are going in so hard to keep her in this confined guardianship?
Harvey, it's I sometimes, honestly, I lay awake at night thinking, like, trying to come up with an answer. And I don't know if there's a, the Guardian has a financial motivation, is financially motivated by this. I don't know if there's, now there's a line drawn in the sand, so to speak, and we're going to show each other who's the boss type of thing. I just don't understand it. But it is just wrong. It's just wrong. And I hope and pray I get to get into that guardianship case. Look, I respect the court, I respect the judges, and I respect the roles of a judge, but I do not and will not be bullied by anyone, including a judge who's going to impose gag orders that aren't permissible, who's going to make threats to litigants. That's not my gig. I don't really go with that. And I'm respectful, and I've never had a disciplinary complaint against me. That's ever. And so I will, I know where the boundaries are, but also I'm not afraid to break some china if necessary. And this case is disgusting, just to be honest with you. I mean, I'm just really disgusted by this case. This poor woman, and I've spoken to her, and she's handling it as well as anyone could handle it. I'll be honest with you.
Yeah.
I'd be losing my mind if I were being held. Really, it's over a year. She's in a place where she can't leave. I mean, it's insane to me. It really is insane, and it's sad. It's sad, and then so something has to be done. I'm not leaving her side until she's out of there. I promise you that.
Okay.
All right.
We believe you on that.
Yeah.
We believe you, Joe. Hey, we saw. By the way,
I know what he was going to ask.
I gotta ask.
He's going to ask you, what
how
did
was
you
Il
have
Molino?
at Il Molino, place that you and Alex went on Wednesday night. He's been going on about it for 2 days.
They put garlic in everything, including the water in that place, right? So it's just like coming out of my blood system now.
Yep, we know. All right, thanks,
Joe, thank you so much. We really appreciate talking to you.
All right, boys.
All right.
Okay.
Thanks, guys. Okay, we're going to take a break.
When we come back, Arnold Schwarzenegger giving a review of his son's performance on White Lotus. It was Patrick's breakout role with some controversial scenes. So what did Dad think about it? You will hear and see his review when we come back. Not surprising that Patrick Schwarzenegger's dad, what's that guy's name?
Schwartz.
Arnie, that's right. Yeah, it's Arnold Schwarzenegger. That guy. You'd imagine, of course, he's very proud of his son for his breakout role on White Lotus. But then you also kind of, and I thought this as I was watching the season unfold, like, I'm sure that Patrick's parents are proud, but then is it uneasy watching him in certain scenes
The incest.
that have been talked about a lot during the season? So we got the answer because our good buddy Alex Michelson, who is often right here when one of us is out, sat down with Arnold. And do you want to help me out here? I'm choking. You can tell I'm completely choking. You're just sitting there.
I just wanted to see if you could get through it.
Wow.
Okay. So anyway,
thanks a lot.
So
you know what? Alex
has
would
a
have
show-
actually jumped in.
Alex has a show called The Issue Is on a lot of Fox stations in California. And he interviewed him for a show tonight and talked about White Lotus and talked about that scene to find out how Arnold felt as he watched his son and heard what his acting brother did to him.
Thanks, Johnny, on the spot.
My son has done such an extraordinary job. I mean, you have to imagine to step into something that gets that much exposure.
Right.
The pressure that is on you. And he pulled it off. And the weirdness of it all, the ancestry and
Yeah,
all
well,
this.
how did you deal with that?
Well,
The
I
incest?
just, look, I deal with it the same way as I deal with it when I play the Terminator and I kill, like, I wipe out the whole police station.
Yeah.
Right? It's like, is it real? No.
Yeah.
You know, it's people were like shocked.
Yeah.
But that's acting, right? If you can act it out so well, that means that they bought into it, they believed it. And the same is when they come up to Patrick and says, how can I do this ancestry and all this stuff? They bought into it.
Yeah.
They thought it was real. And that's the greatest compliment that you can get in acting.
I love that.
great point.
So what he's saying is,
Yeah.
the more upset people got about it,
That means
the
you're
better
doing a
the
great
actor
job.
Patrick was, and the prouder his dad is.
We will say it. Make them feel
love
something.
this.
And if people watched it and they were like,
love it.
Ugh, then he's doing a great job.
he did a good job in this.
It's got to be hard, too, when your dad is Arnold Schwarzenegger, the Terminator. It's got to be hard to, like, try to pave your own path in acting. But everyone is saying that Patrick crushed it. I mean, obviously, we know, like, there was incest scene in White Lotus. There was also a time where Patrick showed some nudity. Like, those are uncomfortable moments for your dad to see. But his dad, at the end of the day, was, like, proud of his son and, like, thought he did really good, which I think that's the overall narrative right now, is that Patrick surprisingly is a good actor.
Yeah, I mean, this could be a career maker for him. But, I mean, I don't know
if you're Arnold or Maria, do you look at it and go like, it's my son's butt. It's my son's butt.
That's what, but Arnold did. You can just tell. Because look, he is an actor. And you know, his son has had roles here and there, but this was a big moment for him. And I don't know, it's just so sweet. You know, I will say this. You remember this thing between Julio Iglesias and Enrique Iglesias, where Julio didn't necessarily embrace his son's success.
Right. I think there's still a rift between them.
I think there is too. Here, you just feel the love between the two of them. And Arnold is so proud. I just think it's wonderful.
Remy from Miami, and I think his son did a job. You know, his dad should be proud. You know, and even with a tense role like that, he show up and showing. You know, and there's nothing more to say. You know, the acting is just in the blood. You know, keep the family tradition going.
Indeed,
I think it's great. I'm so proud of. I'm proud of Arnold. You know, it's just such a great thing, such a great moment. Taking we're going to move on.
Yes, moving on to Eric Dane, and a very sobering announcement that he's made, that he's been diagnosed with ALS. And what's interesting here is
how old is he?
50?
52.
Oh,
52.
Early 52.
Yeah.
Really sad. But he is keeping a good attitude about this, and in fact says that he is not going to stop working. You know that he was star of Euphoria, and they're about to start shooting that new season finally. He says his diagnosis is not going to keep him from that. This is what he had to say about getting this news. He says, I've been diagnosed with ALS. I am grateful to have my loving family by my side as we navigate this next chapter. I feel fortunate that I'm able to continue working, and I'm looking forward to returning to the set of Euphoria next week. I kindly ask that you give my family and I privacy during this time. The part about his family being by his side is interesting because
Rebecca Gayheart, they had filed for divorce, and then she withdrew the divorce.
Right, and that divorce had been in the works for years, but they withdrew that divorce last month, I think it was?
Yeah, it was just a month ago.
So clearly, I think that's something that's been going on.
We don't know when they actually got back together. It could have been they got back together and just never dealt with the divorce papers. We just don't know the timeline.
Yeah.
But
because they have kids together, we'd seen them together from time to time.
But you didn't know if it was co-parenting or whether they had gotten back together. But they took an affirmative step a month or so ago to actually withdraw that divorce. And it feels like he really has a family unit around him.
Yeah.
Guys, this is so sad. This is one of the worst diseases that you can have. I've seen someone go through it at the very end, and it goes so fast, and it's just devastating to watch.
Yeah,
it's really
great that has a good attitude right now, and we hope the best for
Yeah.
for him in getting through, his work on the set of Euphoria.
This is why we need to fund research, medical research. This is why it's so important.
And I want to say, people always say, what we've been giving for how long about cancer, and they haven't cured cancer. They haven't cured cancer, but it is so treatable now, especially when it's found early. So there are advancements that can be made that are very helpful to people's lives beyond curing.
Beyond politics.
Yeah.
We need to invest in medical research.
Yeah. It makes a difference in the lives of the
sea to Shining Sea and to Washington, D.C. too.
Hi, Train Young of Akron, Ohio. This is actually honestly sad, and hopefully he and his family could get through this.
Yeah, I mean, really important to have his family around him. So.
Okay, we are going to take a break.
All right, when we come back, speaking of family, Khloe Kardashian has her eye on someone already connected to her family that she says she would love to get together with. That person is her sister's hairdresser, who you probably know, Chris Appleton.
There's a catch.
There is a catch. But Khloe doesn't seem to mind, and neither does he.
TMZ's got every freaking thing. Big celebs, big stories, big events. Justin Timberlake made Portland kids' dream come true by joining a bike bus ride. And they always listen to Justin Timberlake.
Cry me a river when they fall. Yeah, right.
It's TMZ!
Well, Khloe Kardashian may have found love. A love connection here that she would like to see happen. And as it turns out, the guy says he's open to it too. The catch is...
He's gay.
The guy is Chris Appleton, who Kardashian fans will know has been Kim's hairstylist for a very long time. But last night, Khloe on the Kardashians revealed that she's had her eye. Now, obviously, Khloe knows what the situation is.
Of course. I mean, he was married to a guy.
Right.
That's a clue.
But they weren't married that long. Maybe that's what Khloe's thinking.
Oh,
it didn't work out.
Now I get it.
Well, here's what she had to say about it. And then we will tell you what Chris is saying about this.
They should get all of the dating apps and put them into one and just call it What's Left.
Of the apps,
Because let's
and
face
then,
it, we're all going to be me and Khloe.
Don't talk like that.
Baby.
That's not so bad. I'm fine with that.
I'm fine also, but it's also a
because I just need a companion, and then you go do whatever you got to do, and I'll be at home. Oh, I would out of Chris Appleton. Totally. He's so hot. Who wouldn't? He's such a vibe. I don't know if he me, but I
Okay. A lot of.
So what she's saying is, I need companionship. So
But she also- but
you
it
be
wasn't
my
just
companion.
about- hold on,
Well,
it wasn't
but
just
first
about
she says,
companionship.
you be a companion, and then go do your own thing. But then all of a sudden she said, now, but
Then she said she wants to actually
exactly. So it's
do
kind
the
of
deed.
two
So
different things.
I got the companionship in the clip. I was like, oh,
I know,
all
but
right,
then she's
that makes
talking
sense.
alone, and it's all of a sudden she's going in.
Well, the weird thing is that Chris says, yeah, he'd love to, what Khloe said with Khloe.
She wants to have sex with you. Did you see that?
Yeah.
What was your reaction when you saw that?
Definitely Khloe. She's hot. I mean, what man wouldn't? Also, she's funny.
She is. Is that the first time that you had heard her say that, or had you guys kind of talked about that before?
Khloe's always a good time. Me and Khloe can have fun in a paper bag.
Before you go, I gotta know, are you gonna take Khloe up on her offer? You guys gotta try it out.
Khloe, I'll give you the best blowout. Give me a call.
Oh my God.
Good double entendre, Chris.
I think that was an answer.
Good
though.
double entendre.
I think it was a single entendre.
You think?
Yeah.
What did he say? What man wouldn't? Well,
yeah, as a gay man myself, I do have to say I think more women should be open to letting their gay besties experiment with them and kind of see open that door for them. Let them. I'm not saying it's a choice. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying give them the time to experiment. But
hey, thanks for that, Eric. We really appreciate it.
Also to that point, though, of all the Kardashian sisters,
God,
Khloe
stop. Just stop.
Well, I'm just saying Khloe would be the best one to go after. I do feel like she would care the most. She would be gentle. She seems like a gentle lover.
Is there some wallpaper we cut to?
Hi, I'm Marie Dial here in Ireland, and I wasn't a bit shocked with Khloe's comment. I think you can tell she is attracted to him, but I was more shocked with Chris. So look, I think there could be more going on here than we actually know at the moment, and I wouldn't be a bit surprised if we hear more about the two of them.
I disagree with that.
I would be.
I think there were all sorts of messaging in there that says nope. Okay, we're taking a break.
In a very kind way.
In a very kind way.
Yes. When we come back, the big day for the Menendez brothers. Their resentencing hearing is going down, and there's a surprise supporter for the Menendez brothers in court. We'll show you who it was when we come back. Welcome back to TMZ Live. Eric and Lyle Menendez appeared in court this morning here in Los Angeles.
Virtually.
Virtually, yes. They were not let out of prison. They didn't come up to LA for this, but they appeared remotely, and people in court could actually see them on a screen that was there. So this is their resentencing hearing. Prosecutors are making the case. The LA County DA's office is making the case that they should not be let out of prison.
They want to yank.
Deserve.
They want to yank the petition that was filed by the prior DA to allow them to get resentenced. This DA, Nathan Hochman, does not want Eric and Lyle Menendez to go free. He has made that clear. And his prosecutor who was trying this was in court and made the points that Hochman's been making for months. They lasered in on the one point in particular where they say that Eric and Lyle have not withdrawn what they say is a lie, saying that they felt that their lives were in danger, and that's why they bought the guns and eventually killed their parents. Their reactions to all of this was interesting. When they came in, Eric was biting his fingernails. He was nervous. I mean, when you think about it, everything is on the line here.
Sure.
And so he's biting his nails. Lyle looked tired.
So yeah, he was described as looking tired. He but obviously was prepared to make it through this, put on his reading glasses, and was listening intently as the prosecutor laid out their reasoning for for no resentencing.
Now, as we're doing this right now, this is kind of real time. That's why we call it TMZ Live. And
kind of real time.
And Mark Geragos has not yet spoken. We have somebody in the courtroom. They're not allowed to text. So during the recess, we got these notes, and Geragos has yet to speak. What I'm told is that the judge may decide today if they can go forward with a hearing to resentence them. There will not be a full hearing, even if the judge says yes today. That'll happen later this month. The interesting thing that we've kind of talked about before is how relevant is all of this? Because remember, our governor, Gavin Newsom, has already sent this case to the parole board. And even if they get resentenced, all that means is it allows the parole board now to consider letting them out. But that's already being done.
I know we talked about that, but we should just say that the brothers are taking this hearing very seriously.
Oh, they are.
There was a moment during the hearing this morning when the prosecutors are going on about these things that the brothers have not copped to yet, and they looked at each other and sort of in disgust and shook their heads like, I can't believe they're going over this again. So even though you're right, I mean, the governor seems to have sort of snatched this all away from this judge, but the brothers are clearly
there's one big moment here. There is one big, huge possibility for them. If the judge allows a resentencing hearing, we know Mark Geragos is going to ask that they be resentenced, but he's going to ask for something else. He is going to ask the judge to change the conviction from murder to manslaughter. Now, I don't know if the judge is going to do that, but if the judge would do that, they would be instantly freed because they've served way more the maximum for manslaughter. So that's really why this is so important, not even so much to resentence them, but if they can open the door where the judge allows it to happen, Geragos is going to come in hard asking, change it to manslaughter, let Eric and Lyle go free today.
Harvey, do you think some of this presentation from the prosecution and eventually from the defense it relates to sort of sending a message to the parole board, sort of making the case to the parole board? Because ultimately, to the point you were making earlier, what the parole board is going to say seems really to be what's going to dictate certainly how Gavin Newsom acts.
100%.
So I think there's a real performative nature to this, not faulting the DA at all, it's what they do. Real performative nature here and sort of making the case loudly so that the parole board hears what they're saying here.
Yeah, but here's the thing. Eric and Lyle are going to go before the parole board on June 13th. And really, when you get into it, they murdered their parents. It is a horrendous thing that they did, and that's kind of a given. What the parole board is going to look at are simply two things. Are they rehabilitated, and do they pose a danger?
Yeah.
And those are the only two things they're really going to evaluate. If the answer is they are rehabilitated and they don't pose a danger, that qualifies them to get paroled. And if that, or at least to get clemency, even if they don't get resentenced. And if that happens, given the fact that Gavin Newsom has already asked the parole board to do it, I think, and his opinion, he's going to let him out. He's going to let him out.
Hey TMZ, it's Noelle from New Jersey. So talk about being confused. I don't understand all what's going on, but I have to say, if we were to answer those two things, are they rehabilitated or are they a danger to society? I think they are. They've proven that by what they've been doing in the jail. They've done a lot of good. Their aunt's been an advocate and preaching that narrative quite a bit. It seems like they have. And I don't know that they necessarily pose a threat to anyone else. It seems like no matter what they did was really because of the relationship they had with their parents, and they clearly had a good relationship with their friends and family. So I don't really see the danger with anybody else.
Well, that's the argument. By the way,
you say that there was an interesting supporter in court for the Menendez brothers, Cooper Koch, who played Eric in the Netflix series, and he walked in with Tammy Menendez, who is Eric's wife, and he walked into court with other family members as well, and is there sitting in court right now watching these proceedings.
Yeah.
I think it's interesting because certainly that Netflix series got a lot more eyeballs and a lot more people paying attention.
not particularly relevant to the hearing, but
No, not to the hearing.
Hollywood folks.
Yes.
We're going to move on.
Yes, moving on now to Alicia Keys insisting on something that a lot of people can't believe, that she and her husband, Swiss Beats, have never had a fight. This came up a few weeks ago. Swiss did an interview, and he made this bold claim. He said, marriage is definitely a big word, but look at it like your best friend. The communication is there. We've never had an argument.
How can that be?
Obviously, a lot of people were like, that can't really be. Well, we got Alicia Keys out in New York City, and she is agreeing with Swiss.
Happy 1 year anniversary.
Thank you. I'm so excited.
So what's next?
Listen, 34 more years on Broadway.
That's right.
Plus more music, more creative adventures.
So Miss Keys, hold on. We got to ask you, what do you say to the haters that were like, they never had an argument in 15 years?
I have no idea what anyone's talking about. Me and my baby is on fire.
So, like what she says, an argument is not a disagreement. I feel like when you're in a marriage or in a relationship, you can disagree with your partner, but that does not always equate to a full-fledged blowout fight or an argument.
You cannot be married forever and not have an argument.
Yeah, you can. I swear to God.
Don't believe it. Do not believe it. Sorry.
It's, I guess it's possible, but
no, it's not.
Not
very
possible. Believable.
Not
All right.
possible.
We are going to take a break. When we come back, getting ready for a recession. There are a lot of people saying it is coming. People in the financial or people in the government say it's coming. Everyone except President Trump. So how do you prepare for it, or can you prepare for it? We are going to follow the money with Dane and John when we come back. The Monday Night Football thing. Are you ready for some football? Just adjust it a little bit. Are you ready for a recession?
Oh, God.
No, doesn't.
Don't do that.
Doesn't. I know. Look,
I thought you were. This is like springtime for Hitler. Don't do that. Don't do that.
Look, the reality. Who knows? I mean, J.P. Morgan has said that they expect that there will be a recession this year. Obviously, President Trump believes that that he can make his plan work. We will see what happens, but it's a time where you should be seriously considering how do you prepare.
Yeah, I mean,
can you prepare?
Yeah, can you prepare? Because we've not talked about this, but look, because of the uncertainty, because of that, you've got this undulating stock market and bond market, and just this uncertainty. That uncertainty can trigger a recession. So we've never really talked about it, but it's so important. What do you do? I mean, when it comes to housing. Do you wait? Do you jump? Do you buy a car? What do you do?
It sounds like you're trying to follow the money.
I am indeed.
Seems like a good time to. We should have like a signal that we throw up, like the bat signal.
Ka-chung.
Joining us right now, a good buddy, Damon John from Shark Tank, to follow the money as we do every week. Damon.
This is really interesting.
How do we prepare?
Yeah, this is really interesting. Can you prepare? And if so, do I buy a house? Do I buy a car? What do I do now?
We buy nothing.
You buy nothing. Besides, you buy goods that you can collectively get together with your, group or community to buy together to reduce your costs. So what do we do collectively? Well, first of all, you can only do what's in your control. Number one, first of all, make sure you start learning these new AIs or various other things because you got to polish up your resume. You do not know when you're going to be let go. Number two, look into what you are spending right now. Forget that little Starbucks coffee, one thing every other day. How many apps do you have? Can you cut Netflix? Go into your credit cards. Are you paying 20% interest on these and 8% here? You have to pay down that 20% interest if you can. And then again, like I said, you got to start stacking up with people and going to Costco and buying 100 pieces of toilet paper and splitting up in families of 10. These are the small things that you have to do, but it's only going to prepare you just a little bit for this recession.
I'm a little confused because you're talking about preparing by getting a consortium together and buying all these things now. When there's a recession, I thought people stop buying, and when people stop buying, prices go down. So isn't it better to save money so that you can get a bigger bang for your buck if it actually happens?
But aren't you saving by buying in the consortium?
No, because you're buying it up. Well, you could have a consortium during the recession, but if the price is going to go down, wouldn't you want to save your money because your money is going to go further if prices drop?
You're going to get more during the time. So let's say a stack of 100, pieces of toilet paper are $30, and all of you are kicking in 3. Well, if it goes down to $25, all you're kicking in is $2.50 for 10. Right. I'm just giving you an average number, right?
Right.
But the first thing, what you're talking about, Harv, is to save. The best way to save before you go and spend anything else is, as we were talking about, cut the expenses. So if I look at my phone, I promise you, I got 15 to 20 apps that I'm paying for that I haven't touched in about 3 years, right? So you cut that out, right? You cut your Netflix out, and then you go after your interest rates to cut down. So remember, business, your home and your personal life, you're a business. You either increase sales, which means make more money, or you reduce costs. But no matter what, we don't know if, because of the tariffs, if prices are going to go down anymore, Harv, because what's going to happen is if you're paying 30% more in China, that's going to increase the cost. So you have to right now buy now so you have for the long haul. And that's what I believe you should. I don't think you should buy anything lavish. I think the big things like housing, cars, and those things are going to go down. I'm talking about your everyday expenses, but we die doing paper cuts. We go to dinner 10 times a month when maybe it should be 5. We don't go in a consortium and then we pay 20% on our interest rates. If you cut those things that you can personally control before housing and everything else, you start to reduce and you start to get a little more fiscally, responsible.
If you know that you're going to need a car in a year, like maybe you have a year left on your lease, do you return it early now and get it? Because the price you're going to have to pay for that car a year is going to go way up. So should you get out of that lease now if you've only got a year left?
Depending on the kind of car you're going to get, because if you feel that you can get a pre-owned, well, what's going to happen is a lot of people are going to be giving up that second car, that new option. And because now you've saved a certain amount of money and kind of put it away, now you're able to speak louder because you're cash, right? You're like, hey, I'm ready to buy right now. So you're going to take the opportunity where people are going to say, yeah, you know what? I'm giving up my second car, or I'm going to hold this car out another year if possible. Yes, if you have a good car that you're happy with right now and you can renew that lease at a very cheap price, and you don't want to be the coolest person showing up at the club because that only 10 people are going to see you and you care about what they think, take that car for another 2 years, 3 years. Absolutely. If you know that that's not going to end up in the shop, 100% do that.
Really interesting. Really interesting.
Man, you got to think about everything now because we don't know what's coming up, what's coming down the road.
Damon, this was really good stuff. It was really good stuff.
And always remember, you need money because poo-poo will happen. You're going to have accidents. You're going to have opportunities.
Yeah.
Nestle away. Cash is king.
Yeah. Yep. All right.
Thank you, Damon.
Good advice. Thanks, Damon.
Peace out.
See you next week.
All right.
Okay, we're taking a break.
Okay, when we come back, Kendrick Lamar and SZA finally drop a music video for their #1 hit, Luther, and there is, believe it or not, a Drake connection. Yet the feud continues. Kendrick Lamar and SZA have been at #1, I think, for like 7 weeks now with Luther. And they finally dropped a music video for the smash hit today. And not a lot of shots in it of them together. It's mostly different shots of Kendrick in places, SZA in places. But there is a Drake connection, and maybe this is a little dig at Drake, who, by the way, his song Nokia is in the top 5 and possibly might be the next #1 song. But SZA and Kendrick decided they would use Drake's director, or someone who has directed a lot of Drake's music videos, to do this one. Yeah. I wonder if that was done on purpose.
No, it was definitely done on purpose. There's been a lot of conspiracy theories with this beef, but, you know, they actually got Karina Evans, who's from Toronto. She's did God's Plan, Nice for What, a lot of Drake hits. You know, Kendrick Lamar's, his manager, Dave Free, he shot a lot of videos, so it's not like Kendrick didn't have any other options to shoot this. You know, it's a small dig to keep the beef going.
So it's definitely I mean, because now you put Karina Evans in this position of like, I don't know.
So I'm at the gym this morning. It's like 5 o'clock in the morning. And this guy is wearing a Kendrick sweatshirt.
Yeah.
And so I made
I walked over and made a Drake joke?
I just said, hey, you know, Drake just broke a record. I thought, I'm going to show him I know stuff. And this guy takes me to school. And I mean, he is
like, you know who's been #1?
He is, no, but he's mentioning these other rappers and these connections. And I'm like, why did I start this? Why did I do this?
Just keep your head down, do your curls, and get out of the gym, okay?
Hi, this is Darius YSN out of Tennessee. I definitely think this is a slight dig at Drake. If you look at the details of the video is in black and white. Drake just dropped the Nokia video a week ago. That's in black and white, and of course, the directors directed a bunch of videos for Drake. However, it could just be a coincidence, man, you know, because who hasn't worked with Drake?
There aren't a lot of coincidences.
Yeah, this does not feel like a coincidence. What else do you guys want to talk about?
Hi, this is Ava from Phoenix, and I'm calling about the judge's comments in the Wendy Williams case. They seem very inappropriate. The judge may have valid concerns about Wendy's family, but the comments about her career being done seems really outside of the realm of the guardianship case. And the Guardian themselves seems very confusing. They block Wendy's access to their lawyer, the lawyer who may challenge the guardianship, and then 24 hours later allow her to have dinner with a member of the press. There seem to be some questions as to who's doing their job and has Wendy's best interest at heart.
There are lots of questions. You are right. One more.
My name is Brianna, and I'm from Ventura County. Speaking of White Lotus, I agree with Arnold. I think that actors put themselves into all sorts of uncomfortable scenarios. It's part of the job description. Plus, the White Lotus is known for pushing the envelope.
Yeah, once you know you're doing White Lotus, you know there's going to be something.
Well, what are they going to do after the incest season? I mean, that's the question,
Mike
right?
White's got his hands full.
Okay, we are going to take a break.
All right, when we come back, Jason Kelce, not quite done with athletics. How'd you like to see him get into karate? Yeah, he's doing it. Whether he's doing it well, that's another thing you'll see. The Kelce brothers in general are just, they're marketing machines now, right?
Yep.
There's the Kardashians and then there's the Kelce brothers. And Jason is trying to market their beer. Check out how Jason is selling some beer. Karate to sell beer? Okay.
Training is time. No!
Father, you want me to train this outsider? He can't even do the splits. Paul, what do you even do?
They fight for the Golden Garage. A single champ. Forged in legend. Awarded only to the one who survives the Brumate.
I'm gonna fart into a pillow and smother you with my farts.
I think this is brilliant because you remember this.
The best beer commercials are not about beer.
Okay, we will be updating what happened in Menendez on the website. You can check it out and have a great weekend. We'll see you Monday.